I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat. They know it.
Pure exhilaration, feel it when you leave the earth. 100% adrenaline rush is what we know it's worth. If nothing else, we came to do it.
Welcome to the Steve Joe podcast. What's up, my guy?
Man, we back. It seems like it's been a minute, man.
Man, listen, bro. It's been a while, man. I've been fiending, bro.
Bro, I feel like one of them ball playing brothers, you know? Like Bird or Magic. When it comes to the podcast, like for real,
I do, man. I feel euphoric, man. I think it's a blessing from God to be able to really help try to move the world and talk about something that you truly enjoy, and to be able to bring that joy to yourself and to others as well, and to be able to do it with a partner. That's we in tune, we in sync. We both know what we want from a business aspect. We know what we want from an inspirational aspect, man. So I just enjoy doing this with you, my guy.
Likewise, man. Likewise. So family, everybody doing pretty well? Yeah,
man. Listen, bro, I've been spending time with my family, man. It's been a joy, man. Just watching my girls grow. It's been unbelievable. My wife's business doing unbelievable. We're growing closer. It's one of those things where, man, you appreciate the gifts that God gives you because they're all right there beside you.
Gotcha.
They're right in your face. All you have to do is manifest that through them. And that's all you really have to do. And with that being said, how's your family going, man?
Family's doing great, man. My son is growing up about a minute. My wife, my amazing wife, who puts up with me. I'm not the easiest person to live with. But
at least you know it.
I'm telling you, but I love my wife so much, man. I'm so appreciative of her. She's helped me grow so much in life, man.
And I'm gonna get to this. We're gonna talk about it, the tournament and what happened to those women in the tournament with that weight room. Before we get to the tournament, there is something special. I want to introduce somebody, special and unique to me. I met this guy 7 years ago, actually through Tap at the Barbershop. We used to have our men's meeting. We talked about this about 2 episodes ago. And I met this guy, and we used to be at the men's meeting. I would notice this fresh, dapper. I'm like, man, this guy, who is this guy? Feisty, intelligent. He spoke with veracity, but it was eloquent all at the same time. And it was one of those things that when I seen him, I automatically admired him. And I was like, bruh, who is this guy? So over the years, I got a chance to know him, and our relationship grown day after day, week after week, month after month. And he's been there for me through some hard times. He's been there through me through good times. This guy is a master insurance agent with so many licenses. I don't even know where you can get. I don't know if you can get any more licenses. He's a fashionista. He got the whole kit and caboodle. Sharp guy. He got his Jay-Z hair going on right now. The one and only Keegan J. Wright. What's up, my guy?
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. And I got to write you a check for that when we get done with this. So y'all can keep talking about it if y'all want to. I'm okay with that. I am okay with
How you doing today, man?
I'm wonderful, man. No complaints. Just left church. And
come on. Was church good?
It was always good. We got a good word.
Good.
They going back to church? I thought.
Hey. Listen, we're in North Carolina.
We risking everything out here right
now.
now.
Listen,
Lord,
stop
right?
it.
Right?
The world's open. Listen, bro.
I didn't know.
Listen, I was in Concord Mills last night, bro. If you think about Christmas, it was Christmas time, bro. It was so many people in that parking lot. I was like, I've never seen this many people over here.
Yeah.
And I worked near the area for about 7 years, and I've never seen so many people at one spot. And I was like, well,
people are ready to get out, man.
They are. And I'm glad for people to be able to get out.
And the stimmies went out too.
Absolutely, them stimmies went out. And the stimmies, I'm glad people getting the chance to enjoy. It's been a hard year for a lot of people.
Yes.
People need to go out, and I seen families out there. I didn't see nobody doing that haphazard. People getting stuff for their family and just getting out to have a meal, without worried about the light bill do, man. People need relief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard. It's a lot that happened to people. People lost
with
loved ones. No matter what you think about the virus, no matter if you think it's conspiracy or whatever you think it is, it still affected people's families.
No question.
Yeah,
You know?
no, I agree with that. But be smart with your money, people. Don't blow it on jewelry, shoes, frivolous spending. Like, please, like, there's a meme floating around. I know y'all have seen it, where the guys watering, the two guys watering each other. Like the billionaires are watering with the stimulus, and the people are watering it back into the economy.
Can I ask you a question? What else are people going to do with their money?
Invest. Be smart with it. Like, invest your money, put it back into investments. My wife and I, just to self-disclose, not to put all our business out there, but we're putting money back into our home. We're making some upgrades on our home. That's an asset.
No question.
So we're increasing its worth. So when we sell it, we're gonna make money off of that. We're saving it. We're putting some in Jackson's savings account. Like, be smart with your money. Like, don't go out and buy things. I know I sound like Vin Rings with the guns and the butter conversation.
You do,
with Baby Boy, but seriously, like, he was speaking facts. Be smart with your money. I'm not telling
how
you
do we how do we translate that message without it sounding like a lecture?
I don't know what other way to say it. I mean, certain conversations, Keegan, you're a businessman. It's black and white. You have to be completely transparent and honest and tell it like it is.
So the subject matter is black and white, but people's lives aren't. So you got to figure out a way to parse through what their challenges are to give them that particular antidote. Because you're correct. You have to do something smart and right with the money, whether it's a stimmy or your regular check.
Yeah.
I think we get caught up in what we do with stimmies and IRS refunds every year. But I want you to get better at budgeting your own check every particular
Gotcha.
month,
Good point.
right? You know, and if you can't do that correctly, I don't think you be responsible with the stimmy.
And I think finances are deeper than just. It takes a level of maturity because when you having money or not having money, if you don't budget correctly with anything that you do, it can get out of hand. No. And Keegan, we're going to talk about stewardship a little later, but being a good steward of what you have is just really sacrificing the things you want.
Yeah.
For another time, and for somebody like, and especially I'll say with black men, and I don't even say with black people, I'll say this: sometimes not having anything, and when you finally get something, you want to know what it feels like to do something with it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not black and white.
Yeah.
That's why it's variables that come along with it, because your experiences dictate your maturity, and it dictate how you'll use money, how you'll abuse money. And I think we've all done it. I've done it. To be transparent, I've had it. I lost it. I've had it. I lost it. And it was all a learning curve because I didn't know how to handle what I had. I didn't know where to put it at. I didn't have nobody telling me where to put it at or giving me that advice at the time when I had it. So those things right there, it create those variables and those, like, man, do I do this or do I do that? So that's why I say people need to. I think we break down the conversation more than just don't spend your money the right way. Yeah. It has to be deeper. You have to, why not? And what are the effects? And it has to be, people have to feel like, because there's a lot of financial gurus online, but people want to feel like somebody care about them when they talk about their money and their livelihood.
No, I agree with that. But unfortunately, with our community, when I don't even want to say our community, I think just people who come from lower SES, they want to give out the appearances that they have money. And like you said, like, you got this money and now I'm going to go purchase these things that actually have no worth and depreciating value the moment I check out and get that item, so I can give out the appearance as though I'm keeping up with the Joneses and I have money. And that's not how you build wealth.
I agree. It's not how you build wealth, but it's a tough thing to deal when you don't have nothing. I think we get so far removed from, do you know what it feels like not to have nothing? Do you know what it feels like to want something that everybody's had for a long time? And when you finally get something, people are telling you where to put your money. It feels like, man, because when you don't have something, you suffer. You see people spending something. You got a television. You see people with the money. So it's hard not to want to keep up with the Joneses. It's hard not to want to feel that moment because it looks fun on Instagram. Doesn't it look fun when somebody's in Barbados? Yeah. Doesn't it look fun when somebody's buying a 6-bedroom home and it looks like that's the thing you want to do. So and it's a hard thing to do. It has to be done. I'm not saying this, it's not, but I do understand the other side of it. Keegan, what's your perspective on it?
Let me make 2 points about what was said. The first thing is, you mentioned the word sacrifice. I think that's what people run away from. Because think I can't have something, or I can't do something like I want to do. No, we don't mean the word sacrifice. We mean prioritize.
There you go.
So if we said these 2 or 3 things are more important than these 2 or 3 things, I'm not saying you don't have to have these 2 or 3 things. Just put them back to the side. Take care of the priorities first, right? That comes from planning. Got to have a plan first.
Absolutely.
Without no plan, you're not going to do anything with money or assets or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So I would say first have a plan to start prioritizing what's important. And I will also say to Joe's point, and I'm glad you clarified that, because black folks do not have a monopoly on splurging.
That's facts.
We don't.
Because they don't build Target for us.
Exactly. So I want to be clear. It ain't just black folk, because there's a narrative that we only spend. Now, we do spend, but we're not the only culture out there spending. And I don't want people to think that, oh, well, we're just this buying and consuming culture, which we are, but we're not the only ones out there spending, right? Because I could tell you, the dollars in the other communities are going out there just like ours.
And I think we get the narrative that we spend so much because it hurts our community more if we do make a frivolous purchase, because our net worth is not as high. Our medium household is not as high. So you see the effects are greater when you spend something. And we also compare, and everybody doesn't want to live the same too. We also have to be we also have to be cognizant of that. Everybody doesn't want the same thing in life. Yeah. We can't assume everybody cares about being rich or cares about being financially free. Some people just don't care, and maybe they do. I'm not going to assume either way. Is what I'm saying.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. I like that point, and I like what Keegan said. We don't make up the majority of the spending, but we seem to be the group of people who puts that out there. Like, if you're not spending money, like, we glorify spending money. We glorify looking a certain way, living this type of lifestyle. I don't see other cultures, other racial groups glorifying, pretty much blowing your money.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we glorify. I'll say this.
Steve,
I don't. No. This is why I say we're flashy people.
We are.
We're in talent. We're outward people. We're bold people. It's in our history. We do stuff like that. So that don't mean that we're irresponsible. It just means that we like to stunt. We like to flash. I mean, come on, man. We like to look good. You got on a pink sweater, bro. If that, what the hell is that?
But the question is, Steve, at what cost?
But that's measured at each individual, I believe.
Exactly. That's not just the cost of the purchase. It's the opportunity cost, which you didn't put the money out for.
Of course.
Right?
I can agree with that.
Because let's look at this. There was a big announcement. Somebody was already a part of the Billionaire Club, but now their worth elevated with Kanye West.
Yes.
I don't think we should celebrate Kanye West becoming a multi-billionaire. I think that news sent a very negative message to black people specifically, because it paints the picture of, look how well y'all are doing. Black people are making it. Kanye West is a billionaire. Jay-Z is a billionaire. Look at all these billionaires. But in truth, they put an article out there last year. Now, they strategically did this. They put it out during the same time of the George Floyd killing, where the median net worth of black families has decreased. We are worse off now than we were in 1968.
Of course.
At the same time, the net worth of white families has increased.
I think it's 171,000.
Yes. So what does that tell you? That we're worse off now in 2021 than we were in 1968. Now, knowing that bit of information, should we really be celebrating Kanye West? Because that's one person. We're doing worse.
Yeah.
We should have more. We should have hundreds of billionaires in our community. So I don't want black people to think that this is a victory for us, because it's not a victory for us, because we are doing worse.
Well, I'll say this in rebuttal. All black people aren't monolithic. So everybody's not celebrating Kanye in that way. And I think
you looked at social media. People were celebrating.
No. I celebrated because I like Kanye and I believe.
I'm not saying you, but
okay.
The culture.
You use Kanye West as motivation. You use Kanye West.
Okay, so why are we assuming that other people aren't?
Because people are acting like Kanye's about to cut them a check.
No,
Come on. Let's be real about this.
Or they're happy that a black man like them made it to the top, or made it perceived to the top of the financial pyramid. So, and some of these people, that's their favorite artist. And Kanye literally grew up with us. Like, you remember Through the Wire? Like that Kanye. So it ain't like he just arrived and he came from a rich family. He had it all together. Nah, we've seen this man go through trauma after trauma. We've seen this man mental health break down in front of us. We've seen this man do all type of stuff. And everybody in this room somebody twice on Sunday has called Kanye crazy and given up on him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I think that's the celebration. I don't think it's that, black people are sending the wrong message. I think that, I like it.
Should we be posting about the fact that we are doing worse now at the same rate as we did with Kanye West? I think that should be pushed out.
So what's the why behind us doing worse then? So I think because it feels like you're talking about that we're the reason.
Let me let Keegan.
Go ahead, Keegan.
Chime in.
So I would say typically when you hear news about a billionaire, it's a marketing play. They went to Forbes and had their returns and their assets looked at to kind of get a narrative of what they can say they're a billionaire or not. So the point is the market that I'm a billionaire. I'm in this particular club. So to Joe's point, what's more important to our thinking? Knowing that Kanye has added $5 billion to his net worth, or that black folk are doing worse than we were in 1968, right? So there's a study done that said that if we continue the same trend of income and spending in our community, by 2053, we'll have a zero net worth as a culture.
Facts.
Right? So the question becomes, what should we be marketing to our people's thinking that makes us move in the right direction versus stagnation or the wrong direction? I don't know if the extra $5 billion.
Bro, you give me Obama vibes right now. I feel like I'm talking to a dignitary. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Well, hey, you set the bar high, my friend. You set the bar high. So, so I would say the question becomes, what do we start talking? What's we should be talking about, whether it be Kanye West or what's going on in the culture? And the arguments also still out there that is he really $6.6 billion in net worth?
Forbes refuted it and said he wasn't.
Yeah, because I'll tell you the reasons why they're arguing it is that they're using his Gap partnership to say that, yes, this is what's going to cause him to be a billionaire, but he has not sold 1 inch of apparel through Gap yet.
But the projections are strong. His new 450s just came out, sold for under a minute. Yeah. And they go for $600-$700 and under a minute.
But to Keegan's point, Kanye West's wealth is completely dependent on Adidas and Gap Inc. Mm-hmm. Kanye's wealth is not tangible, because I was thinking about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's wealth, he has a Jordan brand, but Nike is the parent company. However, he owns the Charlotte Hornets. That's his franchise. Kanye West can't say that this is my franchise. I am the parent company. I am over it. So his net worth is not really, in my opinion, Keegan, you're the businessman. It's not really tangible in my eyes, because something could happen. He could say something controversial. He could make the wrong group of people mad. And guess what? That net worth plummets, because nobody's going to buy Yeezys and nobody's going to buy his clothing from Gap.
But to that point, I think the court hasn't been realized yet through Gap. We know what Yeezy has done, right? But the Gap apparel line has not been even sold yet. So there's no trend line. There's nothing to actually project against that says, okay, this past 3 years, we can project it's going to be in the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of the challenge with the billionaire kind of analysis. But to the point, that's normally done for marketing purposes for that individual.
Absolutely.
So if that's the case, to your point about why, I'd rather be discussing how can we improve the entire culture versus celebrating one person who was already a billionaire.
Yes.
Let's be clear. He was already a billionaire. So I don't want to celebrate him moving to another echelon when I still got brothers and sisters in my hood still struggling. I want to help them.
I think you can do both things. I think I posted. I think we can do both things. I think, I'm struggling, but I still celebrate. That's okay to. I think it's okay to do both. I think we have to learn how to. We're in an uphill battle with ourselves. We're in an uphill battle with history. Mm. We know that that's why we're in this room talking and try to build black value. So, but it's okay on the way up to celebrate a little bit. Don't get balanced. I think we need balance.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we need balance. I think because if we just hated it, then we'll be talking about, man, why do they hate Kanye? Yeah. We crabs in a barrel at that man. So celebrate it, but also recognize that hey, black folks' median income is decreasing, and by 2053 the median income be zero. So that's a conversation too, but it's also celebratory. It gets me through the day.
Now let's be clear, Steve. Joe wasn't saying hate him.
No. No. What I'm saying is, if everybody hated the situation, we'll be having a conversation on why people. Yeah.
Well, why do they keep promoting entertainers though? Why? Because I know why. I want to throw this question out there. I know why they always promote entertainers in our community. like the last two billionaires to join the club have been entertainers and athletes. However, if you look at other communities, specifically the white community, they're businessmen, they're big tech guys. You know how hard it is to become a successful hip hop artist. You know how hard it is to make it to the NBA. If you go to school or be an entrepreneur or businessman, you're more likely to create wealth that way. But our people don't see that. We see Kanye West, we see Jay-Z, so we think these are the only ways that I can become successful and get to that point. That's strategically done. And we need to start questioning that. I'm sure there are other I'm sure there have been other black billionaires, probably in other fields.
Yeah,
I know
Robert Smith.
No question. Who did he overtake? Do you know?
Robert Smith, right?
Robert Smith, head of Vista Partners.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that a big deal?
Well, I think you're right about that. And again, and that's not all our responsibility. And I think that has to be the message first. Like we didn't put ourselves in this situation. I think once we get away from, the main thing, and the main thing is we're just now 60 years in, 50 years in, just having the right to vote. Mm-hmm. And it's so many laws that we couldn't get to the top. So when we seen Bill Russell back then, that was the only way they let a black man play sports because we was physically gifted and we can do that. But don't get me wrong, our bodies are important. Don't minimize the creative nature of a body. And if you're an athlete, that's not easy things to do. Don't let people fool you and think just the mind. But if your mind makes your body do it, so you have to have a strong mind to move your body in certain ways. My point is this though. We have to start understanding that we are getting there, and it's going to take time to repair our minds. It's going to take conversations to where now we're showing you that successful black man doesn't have to be in the NBA. That's the whole point of the show. You're actually doing what you're saying because this show promotes heroism in the black community. Am I opposed to having somebody famous? No, but what I'm saying is I want to show people that I see every day that are heroes in our community that's had an impact on my life that you can actually strive to be. Yeah. And you can actually be.
Yeah. You can touch.
Absolutely. Exactly. And I think that's important. Keegan, me and you talked about this all the time. Your circle of influence. Yeah. You have to be responsible for that. Your circle of influence. I judge black people based on who I put myself around. And I think if you look at the news, you'll judge black people the way they want you to judge black people. But I look at Keegan, I look at Tap, I look at Joe, I look at Don, I look at all my friends, Big Trap, I look at Mark, I look at everybody around me, and I say, hey, what are they talking about? I'm around kings. I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, you always have people that want to eat low fruit. You always have people who don't want to do the right thing. You always have that. But the problem is the media has shined a bright light on that. Yeah. And it makes us question everything about us and our existence and denying the beauty of what we are and what we have accomplished. And so we're 400 years in. Like, think about that. Like, think about, bro, where we are. We're sitting up here. There ain't many white men in the world more educated than us. I'm accentuating the positive. I understand. That's all I'm doing. The other stuff exists. Yeah. But I don't want to keep living in an existence where I can't enjoy my life and help my cause at the same time.
But we also got to realize that as we currently speak, where we are today, we're worse off. I think we have to keep that in the front of our minds. And then once we start thinking about it and looking at things through that lens, then we can say, okay, obviously what we're doing is not working. So it's time to do something differently. And it's time to take back and control the narrative. Yeah. We can't continuously rely on the media to tell our stories.
I agree with that.
And we just run with it. And that's why with the Kanye West thing, like, if you really didn't do a deep dive into it, you could easily say, hey, black people, y'all doing good. Mm-hmm. Look at Kanye West, the richest man in the history of America. Y'all are doing pretty well. And not question it and continue to live your lives when you realize you look around like, hold up, Kanye's doing well, but I'm not doing well. Or my brother's not doing well.
Yeah. Joe, it's a great point. And I would argue, too, that it's easier to reach black people with that point than it is white people. Mm. And the reason why is because when Obama got elected, first thing it says was, there cannot be no racism in this country if we got a black president. Where did that come from? You know, and so I think how we penetrate other people groups outside of our own is also important. How we change the narrative on our, because we're not out here on TV telling our story in the inaccurate way.
Facts.
Other people are.
Yeah.
But they have power.
Yeah.
So they're able to do that.
So speaking of telling the story, so there's this big story that came out. Let me transition to this. And it's concerning Deshaun Watson. And I've been flabbergasted about this story for since it came out. Everybody knows, to give it a backstory, Deshaun Watson won it out as the quarterback at the Houston Texans. He played his team, done well. The team hasn't put anything around him. Management has been horrible. Coaching's been horrible. Bad decisions. They traded D-Hop. I mean, they've made it's just been a string of bad luck and bad decisions from management concerning this young man's future, in which he's a top 5 quarterback. I don't think people would even question that. If you're not a casual and you really watch the game, you would know that Deshaun Watson is just as talented as anybody else. Yeah. But there was an accusation, so in this process, and they couldn't get him to change his mind.
Accusations.
Yeah. So it's.
I mean, let's keep it a buck.
It's been accusations, and with the plural, and it's been many women coming out against Deshaun Watson, saying that he did the whole Robert Kraft massage thing, but he forced his way to do it. Is what they're allegedly saying about Deshaun Watson. And first it was 1 woman, then 2 women, then it's 4, then it's 5. Joe, I'm gonna give my opinion, but I want to know what do you think about the situation. Keegan, you can go ahead too as well.
I mean, by the end of this podcast, it may be the number may have increased.
Yeah.
Listen, and I know I'm gonna preface this conversation. I'm gonna start it off this way. I'm a black man, contrary to how some of y'all may view me on this podcast. Wow. I am a black man. I'm a proud black man.
Joe Jason Whitlock.
Wow. I'm married to a beautiful black woman. But
that is fact. That's true.
That's neither here nor there. We know the history in this country, and we know the story of Emmett Till, and it predates Emmett Till. We know that black men have been falsely accused of committing crimes against women.
Okay.
And we know that black men have been victims of murder. We've had our lives taken away and thrown in prison because once a woman, specifically a Caucasian female, says that man violated me, then all bets are off. You're guilty. So we know that. So I know when we see stories like this, we automatically get triggered emotionally because that's in our DNA. We know that it's in our conscience. We can't help that. But I want to ask people, do not simply look through this through an emotional lens. Take a step back and really think about what's going on. Deshaun Watson recently signed a contract for over $100 million.
Absolutely.
It serves Mr. McNair, I don't know his first name, nothing for his star. He doesn't gain from having Deshaun Watson, and the NFL doesn't gain from having Deshaun Watson going through this kind of scrutiny and adversity. They don't gain from this. He is an asset. He had a sterling reputation. He was making the league money. This hurts business. It doesn't help business. And let's not get it twisted. We don't know Deshaun Watson. I don't know Deshaun Watson. So I can't vouch for him. There have been plenty of times in my personal life, family members, close friends, well, I thought they knew them. I thought I knew them, and they would do something. I hear something about them, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. So that's point number 2. Take the emotion out and think about the situation through your eyes. How many times have you thought you knew someone and you found out something and you were surprised? Yeah. That's number 2. Number 3, the Houston Texans already knew this. This isn't new. Remember, the story said, Deshaun said, they already reached out to me a while ago for a settlement, and I refused. So the Houston Texans knew that this was coming down the pipe. Bob McNair knew that Deshaun Watson liked his happy endings. However, when Deshaun Watson requested a trade and said, I no longer want to wear your jersey, he lost protection. If he was said, I want to stay a Houston Texan and see this thing through, we would not be hearing about this story. McNair would have killed that story. You know why? Because they're next door neighbors. What happened a few months ago, the neighbor, the attorney, Busby, said, listen, this is what I have sitting on my desk right now. It's about your quarterback. It's about to hit the fan. We're offering him a settlement. He's refusing. How should I go about this? At first, McNair was like, all right, let's hold on. Let me talk to him. And let's work through this. But this whole this whole trade request thing came up. And now, fast forward, Busby came back to McNair saying, this thing is sitting on my desk. We reached out to him. We want the settlement. I don't want to go public with this because we're friends. You're my neighbor. What should I do? McNair was like, you know what? He won't talk to me. He's on his own. These guys do terrible things, Steve. I mean, Michael Irvin almost killed someone in the locker room. Jerry Jones gave an interview saying, I could go to prison if you knew about the skeletons in my closet. Marvin Harrison called a body. Ray Lewis called a body. I mean, athletes do bad things. We don't know these guys. So it's beyond a reasonable doubt that Deshaun Watson did these things. I'm going to go and say, I think he's guilty. I do. I think he's guilty. And I think we're at the tip of the iceberg. He's going to prison because this doesn't look good. 20 women, and they ain't all white women.
I don't know.
Sisters
and
too.
again, let me be. And I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. And what I'll say is this: it's awfully convenient. It's awfully convenient when he wants to leave. The protection. If he did it, I can give you the protection part. I'll get that. You made a valid point with that because the protection is there.
Yes.
But for the same reasons, if you think about this, Deshaun Watson, he probably had happy endings, but they probably were consensual, and they probably wasn't. I don't know, but all I'll say is this: that it's awful convenient because I don't really want to make, I know people who've been through stuff like that.
Facts. So
I don't want to make light of it or especially we have to protect our women.
Yes.
Let me just go ahead and say that.
Without question.
First and foremost, our women have to be protected at all costs. No matter what. That's our responsibility, I believe. That's just me. I'm not trying to get anybody to think like me, and I'm certainly not castigating black men either.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to talk about. When something comes up, let's give him the presumption of innocence like any other citizen. Let's not put him on the court of public opinion and right now. Let's give him the due process. Let's let the system work itself out. We never let black men get that. It's not that I just believe it's not that I'm traumatically like, oh, well, I can't believe this. It's just that every time something happens, whether we're guilty or innocent, we're already guilty. From the jump start, I'm guilty. So I'm working backwards. Though everybody else gets to work with the system and be innocent until proven guilty. All I'm saying, we only had OJ in our history. We only had OJ. That's it. They only let us get OJ. But my
other people. Kobe got off.
I'm not.
Kobe beat the case.
Keegan, I'm not going there with you.
Kobe beat the case. What do you think about Kobe?
That was a curveball.
That was. What you think about the situation, Keegan?
The first thing I'll say is, to your point about protecting women, sexual harassment and sexual abuse is a real thing.
It is.
It is.
And I don't want that to be forgotten in our quest to protect black men or athletes that we hold in high regard. Sexual harassment, sexual abuse is a real thing, whether it's stranger to a woman, even in relationships. It's a real thing. So I don't want to have a discussion that might make a young girl think twice about reporting something that happened.
That's
to her.
facts. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, make sure, because his career and his money and the Texans organization, to me, is long way down the list of priority to a female's life.
Yeah.
And Keegan, can you say the same thing for a little black boy too? The same respect you give him for the little girl?
No question.
Because I want them to be valued the same way.
No question. I'm gonna go to that point as well.
Okay.
I want to make a comment about something, but I want to make sure we mention that in the foray, because we're talking about Deshaun Watson as black men. Let's look at the parallels in the country today. Massage parlors were shot up in Atlanta. You're gonna get to that, right? Interesting parallel during the time. Governor Cuomo has the same situation going on with him up in New York, right? So I want to make sure that we're clear about where this country is at with men imposing themselves on women.
Facts.
That's facts.
We have to call that out as men.
That is absolute facts. Yeah.
Right? Because it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And I have a kid, a daughter. You know, she's grown, but she's still my daughter. She's still my baby girl. And so I think it's important. And you have 3 little girls.
Yes, I do.
You got daughters, Joe?
I have a son.
Son? Okay. You got sisters?
Yeah, I have a sister.
Daphne, right?
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we call out that issue before we start trying to protect a man's career and money.
Of course.
Not calling them guilty, right? But I do believe that black men does not get the same innocent until proven guilty paradigm that any of the or any of the man in this particular country gets, right? I do believe that. So I think we have to let the due process roll out. Yeah. I agree with that. Timing is interesting. It really is. And I would suggest to us that look, because I didn't do the research you did, so I don't know about all those particular items between the lawyer and the owner. So I can't speak too intelligently about that. But I don't know Deshaun Watson. I didn't know Bill Cosby.
Facts.
Right? And so when it comes out, let the facts speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Don't let conjecture get in your mind, get in your ear, get in your eyelids, because you'll start building some assumptions and you're predicting that you don't even know. So I would say that. Now, I don't want to be stoned for this, but I want to give a counter argument to situations. And I want to first draw the example of Governor Cuomo. The last aide that came out against him said that he called me into his office. I was writing some notes, but I was looking down. I noticed Governor Cuomo stopped talking. I looked up, and he started looking away. I assumed that he was looking at my blouse. It made me uncomfortable. I'm not going to tell a female how to feel, right? And I want to get back to Deshaun Watson as well. But what's going to start happening is men will start acting a certain way around women if this does not get clarified, because there are scary things being said about men that make you think, well, I can't even be around a female right now.
Yeah.
I was at an event when I was on the company side working for a corporation, and we was meeting some people before the actual event started. A friend of mine said hey to a young lady. He's like, hey, how you doing? And wanted to give him a hug. He said, well, do you mind if I hug you first? He asked her that. And it was a giggle joke kind of thing, but he was serious. Is that where we want to actually interact with people? I got to ask you, can I hug you first if I know you really, really well before I do so? That's where men are starting to get to. There have been things said to me by females in corporate America that if I would have said to them, I'm in jail.
Facts.
I'm in jail. But if I mention that, I'm looked at a certain way, right? So I think it's important that we have a conversation that's going to include both parties, men and females, and both entities, both genders are given the same level of respect that the other one is requiring.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that there's a situation going on where it's a double standard. Men are, I don't want to say being unjustly accused, but we are being put in some very, very tough situations that we have to start acting a certain way. But sexual harassment, sexual abuse is extremely real. Yeah. It's a problem in this country.
Absolutely.
And I know I jumped off the bridge when I said I think he's guilty. I know I understand due diligence and due process, but it just hit me coming down the road. I'm like, this story is, to me, in my opinion, I mean, move Bill Cosby aside, with the amount of women, it reminded me of the Tiger Woods story. And when we heard about the Tiger Woods, remember, it was one woman, then there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 20 women. Mm-hmm. This is Tiger Woods we're talking about, like one of the biggest athletes in the history of sports in America. None of them accused them of sexual assault. That's a win. You Tiger Woods, you don't want that lingering. Mm-hmm. You writing that check tomorrow, and you getting that out of the way. This is Tiger Woods, Tiger freaking Woods. Why would they make up a story? If they didn't go that far with Tiger Woods, why are they going that far with Deshaun Watson?
Listen,
it doesn't make any sense.
I guess I'm not the judge. I don't know. I wasn't there. All I'm saying is the timing. All I'm saying, and I get your listen. The timing is convenient, and you can. It is, and it's okay to believe black men sometimes too. Like
Without question.
It's okay to believe if he say he's innocent. It might be okay to just as a man.
Don't disagree.
You know, maybe we don't know him, but we people we don't like, we choose to not like him, and we would choose to see him that way. So what about a guy that's never shown us? He's been a model citizen. The guy, you know, we've seen him. We watched him grow up through and play in the 2016 national championship and lose his mother. We seen all of that, and we never had a question about it. But the minute he get accused of a thing, well, he might be guilty. That's unfair. That's incredibly unfair.
Well, that's unfair.
I'm not saying maybe he might
just one woman, bro.
And he could be a sociopath. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying that the presumption of guilt already applies no matter what. And this has been a pattern.
Guilty though. I think it's the opposite this time because we talked about
They may not be on it, but because it looks funny. I'm saying this looks really funny, bro.
It looks funny because of the timing, but like I said, I think this stuff has been out there. We're hearing about it now.
So what does that say about the Texans that they'll cover up something like that?
They're accomplices.
So that's what I'm saying. That's why they don't have no more. Yeah,
this is
I get it, but what I'm saying,
Joe, there's no excuse.
If you're gonna hold,
if you're gonna hold him to that standard, you got to hold him to.
You're holding us to a higher standard, but you letting them just slide, and it shows who they are. To me, if they're willing and you are okay, and you was just gonna let them
this is big time sports.
So why do you castigate black people and put that morality chain on our neck? Why is our yoke so hard?
Yep.
Why do you cast the rope so hard with us?
As a black man, and golly, this is gonna sound bad. Deshaun Watson and these. When you're in the limelight, you have to be self-aware and know who you are. You have to know, especially as a black man. I'm self-aware. I know there's certain situations and positions I cannot put myself in, and I'm not Deshaun Watson. I don't have his stature. I'm not nationally known yet. But
come on,
even then, I'm not going to put myself in certain situations. I'm self-aware. You're Deshaun Watson. Why are you even on Instagram reaching out to local massage therapists and putting yourself in that situation when you have so much to lose? As my mama always told me, son, you never associate with people who don't have as much to lose as you do.
Amen. That's wise words from a good woman. I would say this. It's not about sex. It's about power.
Facts.
Typically, harassment abuse is about power. It's not about the actual act that's being used to illustrate the power. So when you're talking about power, most men, specifically white men, but most men do not understand the word no. It's not in their vocabulary. So I'm not saying he's guilty. I want to be clear because Steve.
We just adding context.
Yeah,
that's all.
My point is, we're not talking about the issue of a massage therapist. It could have been anything.
Yeah.
Right. It could have been anything. It's about power if this is what took place. But going back to the original point that Steve brought up, and I'm really adamant about this. Let's let due process take its course. Let facts come out. See if he's guilty or innocent. Whatever that path looks like, if it is guilt in play, the Texans should be held accountable too, because they was part of that particular paradigm, plain and simple. And that's something I think we got to start speaking about, because what's happening is you're letting the other side of this particular race coin get away with something.
And so many and societies they so used to holding black people accountable for stuff. Always want to put us in jail. Yeah. Always want us to be guilty right now. Always he did it. He looked like he did it. It's always that.
I know it's not fair. I hear you guys make a good point in the Texans, but we know that that's just not going to happen, because this is a cultural thing. That's how business works. These guys, they know everything about Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. Even when Deshaun thinks that he's alone, he's not alone. I'm investing $100+ million into you. I'm going to know everything that you do.
Yeah, you're not a person. You're an asset.
Exactly, you're an asset. Mm-hmm. Side point kind of explains why Mitchell Trubisky was drafted over him. I don't think this is anything new. I think they did their due diligence.
You would not see that's what's
coming out of Clemson, and they're like, you know what?
You can make up.
I'm hearing these rumblings. I don't feel comfortable investing into this young man. I'm going to take this guy, because let's make no mistake about it. Nobody's going to take Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson. Mm. And it's not because he was a black quarterback, because Cam Newton and Jameis Winston were already drafted number one ahead of him. Mm. It had to be something else. And I think he had some skeletons in the closet. Clemson is a very small. I'm a rock away from Clemson. Mm-hmm. I hear things. I know what goes on. It's a small tight knit community. Stevie notices too.
Yeah.
Things don't get out, but a lot of stuff goes on. And so to get to the level they at, you're gonna have to get some guys who have some character issues. Aaron Hernandez was murdering cats.
Speaking of murdering and let me go here and killing. So there was this guy in Atlanta that decided to go shoot up some Asian parlors.
Yes.
This week. And man, rest in peace to everybody who passed away. Let me say that first. Let me preface that first. Don't want to take any of this lightly. So before we start having this conversation. So to all those families out there, may God, bring peace to your heart.
Yes.
But with that being said, so there's, a lot of people on Instagram and there's a lot of black people coming out. And the question I have, Keegan, you can start off with you is, why does black people celebrate, not even celebrate, but stand up for other cultures? And a lot of other cultures don't stand up for us in times of peril. Like we don't see a strong, a strong word. Like we had a hashtag out, Stop Asian Hate. And I think the hashtag is, I think we should do that way. I just don't understand, why don't we demand the same thing from other cultures when things happen in our community? Is that a fair question?
No, that's a great question. It has layers to it as well. So the first thing I would say is they're standing up alongside us. And what I mean by that is Asians did stand up for us. CAAL is the Coalition of Asian American Leaders. AAPI is Asian American Pacific Islanders group. They also now open letters to walk with black people during the George Floyd incident.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Right,
okay.
Open letters out. Now, let's be clear. An open letter is not the same as getting in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
In front of a courthouse.
And really putting yourself at risk.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yeah. So I want to say that they did those things, but not at the level that we did it for them. I want to be clear about that. But Malcolm X said very, very clearly, white folks can help, but they can't lead our charge. I'm paraphrasing. I don't want them to lead the charge for us. We're going to help them. They got to lead their charge. But the thing that black people understand is violence against others is just violence against us. It just hits you. We've had it all.
Absolutely.
Everything that somebody else gets, we already had it in tenfold, right? So we see ourselves in everybody else because we know we've already gotten that. We already got the callousness, the immunity to actually help you get through it because you haven't seen it yet like we've seen it. So I think we have a caring nature because of who we are as God's people. And so I believe that that's why we do it. Now, what I would want to be clear about is in this situation, I don't want to talk about, this is just me personally.
Okay.
I prefer to talk, instead of talking about the black versus Asian conversation, I'd rather talk about why are we trying to create excuses for this man who killed these people? That's what's irking me more than anything.
Oh, did you hear the police? Did you hear the police guy?
Of course.
He had a bad day.
Yeah, he's been given 2 excuses.
He had a bad day.
He's a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can pay taxes. You are legal in this country. You're not a kid no more. The second thing is a sexual addiction. Now we're going to play the mental illness card. Nah. This man committed a crime. And a hate crime at that. Call it what it is. Prosecute him thoroughly and put him in jail. If the state requires death penalty, I say assign it. Plain and simple. I'd rather have that convo versus the one about blacks versus Asians because, again, just like Deshaun and the Houston Texans, the white man gets off in the commentary in this particular scenario.
Wow. What's your perspective, Joe? That was, wow.
I love what Keegan said about being loving people is just in our nature.
I think so too.
I can't refute that. I think you can scientifically prove that. So I can't refute that. I love that point. However, black people collectively, we have collectively low self-esteem. How we view ourselves is extremely low. So a person with low self-esteem, what are they doing? They're always looking for acceptance from other people. Collectively, black people, we're always looking for acceptance from other races. Please accept us. And in this situation with the Asian community, we're begging for acceptance. Hey, look, you're going through the same things that we've been going through for 400 plus years. So accept us, walk with us. However, in turn, it wasn't reciprocated, like Steve said. Asian people weren't like, hey, I understand what y'all are going through. Asian hate against the black community is historical. They parried it in movies, in Spike Lee movies. Like, they treat us like crap.
Yep.
In China, when the whole coronavirus thing popped off, do you know what they were doing to the African citizens and immigrants in China? They were pretty much putting them in concentration camps and blaming them for the spread of the coronavirus in China. Where was the hashtag stop black or African hate there? When that young lady was murdered out in California in the 90s?
After the Rodney King thing.
Yes.
I forgot her name, but she got shot by the lady. Exactly. And the lady got off.
The lady got off.
She got off.
In Brooklyn or in New York, we always hearing about how these Asians would hop on black women when they're in these nail salons if they don't pay or they don't like the way they behave. There's been so much hate, Asian hate against black people. It's not even funny. But we don't bring that up.
And because what's the origin? Because the Asians aren't our problem.
Explain
what I mean by that is what is the origin of their hate come from? They feel like they look at the example. They look at the example that white supremacy has given them, and they've taken it as law. They've taken it as, hey, this is how black people really are, and white folks has given them access to all of our neighborhoods, corner stores, and all of these things. So, and we go in there and they see they see low income people in a hood and how we act. And listen, why do you think we here? We didn't put ourselves here. We didn't want our neighborhoods like that. But you did all this shit to put it in there, and now this is the result you get. So that's the perspective they have of us when they see us, and they see the worst of us. Listen, there's the worst of people in white community, in the black community, in the Asian community. So what my point is this, is that they see maybe the worst of us, and they make an assumption about all of us.
I agree with what you're saying. So
we gotta talk about the responsibility comes on the origin.
I understand the origin, but at this point, what I'm saying is certain things, and I'm not advocating violence, and like Keegan articulated very well, our hearts, and you did too, our hearts go out to the family members and the individuals, but not everything is our fight. And we have to understand, listen, we have to protect each other first. We have to worry about what's going on within our four walls. You brought up Malcolm X. Malcolm X articulated it perfectly. We got to fix, I realize now that we got to fix what's going on between us before we go out there. Martin Luther King even said, I feel like I've led my people into a burning house. Yeah. We have to focus on ourselves first, because other communities, the Asians have shown us, they focus on themselves first.
And let's talk from a historical context, talk about this for a second. I think younger Asian Americans don't feel the same way about us than their parents do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because part of the open letter given by the about the AAPI was about them trying to get their parents to support black people. There is an inner conflict between that culture about black people's values, because the older heads in that culture don't look at us in the same way. So I think the history is there that speaks to that. I agree with you, Joe. I think, we want help. I don't care if you green, yellow, white, whatever, help. But as Malcolm X said, you can't lead our charge, because once I let you lead, once you stand really at the equal part of my challenge, you control narrative. Yeah, I'm not giving that up no more, right? So you can help, but I think that we have to lead our own fight in that regard. Yeah. And I would say for black people, help Asians, but let them lead their own fight. But I think black people, your protective nature goes back to slavery. Massa, we sick.
Yeah.
It goes back to that particular idiom, so that's just in our nature, right? Think about when you used the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. When you're growing up back in the day, anybody's mother can beat you.
Mm-hmm. That's facts.
It's just part of the nature of who we are. We take care of everything within our culture. And you see people that are going through hard times, we want to help them too. It's just part of who we are. Yeah. And so I don't want to make light of that, because I don't want people to think that helping everybody else is not helping ourselves. No, it's just part of the DNA that we're coded with.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most beautiful part about black people. Yes. Think about our aunties, our grandmas, our big mamas. Think about having them and how loving they were, how they made something out of nothing, like that. Giving nature, it helped us survive. No so we don't need to scave over that. And I know that we may not get everything back. Kind of like being a husband sometimes. You give something, you ain't gonna get everything back from your wife, but what she does provide is definitely valuable for your life to continue to move in the way it needs to move. So I think if we look at it from that perspective, it's DNA built. It's just who we are, and it's how we survive for 400 years. But man, we got to go ahead.
Point I want to make about, I want to come back to something I said
longer
earlier.
than 400 years, though. We got to stop saying that.
Yes,
longer than 400 years.
Okay,
well, it's still going on.
Yeah. So if you want to,
and it predates 400 years because we were already in America. Slavery.
No question.
Like we weren't brought over here. Stop listening to that narrative, people. I know it's hard to believe, but yes, we were actually over here before slavery. We are prisoners of war.
Christopher Columbus did not found this country.
No.
I definitely don't. I never believed that.
We're already.
So tell us a little bit about it then.
Well, just think about it, and we're gonna have to take a quick break. Think about it logically. Do you know that they've proven this? First of all, they can't find any ships. That's number one. They've proven that it is impossible to transport that many people in such a small area by the amount and have them all survive that trip. Yeah. That's been scientifically proven. Number two, Steve, you need a babysitter to watch your kids. Are you going to go start looking over in Africa for someone to watch your kids? Or are you going to start in the Charlotte area?
Yeah, I started in the Charlotte area.
Light bulb. So me personally, before I even went and started really diving deep into the research, I just looked at it logically. I'm like, this whole slave trade thing doesn't even make sense. Now, I'm not saying the slave trade didn't happen. No, there were individuals brought over here by
the Timney people.
Yeah. However, the majority of us were already over here. We are the real Native Americans. That is us. We are not even Native Americans. We are the indigenous people of this land. We lost this land through war and slick trades. We're loving and caring and giving people. We welcomed them with open arms. They took our land, but you have to start understanding, people, we were already over here to begin with. This is our land.
And your commentary is always the responsibility rap, because we need to get our land back.
Yes.
You always talking from the, so I could, that point I can definitely understand too as well, but there's a different language now we speak. Now we got to speak to the power in us. Now we've already been lectured. We've already been told what to do so long. We've already been jailed and institutionalized so long that, you know, it's hard for people to receive certain messages now. Yes. and to wake up to the idea that you are, I believe we're divine as well. I go a step further. I believe we're divine. I believe that we can manifest anything we want in this world within the gifts and talents that God has given you. Within my gifts and talents, I'm extraordinary. Yeah. There's no boundary of what I can do, of what I can't do. But with outside of my talents, I need you and your talent to help me out. That's why when we're all manifesting, that's why togetherness, helping each other is going to get us back to getting our land. We don't need to take anything from them because we can rebuild again. We built this land. Thanks. We built this country from the ground up. We make everything hot. We're watching sports. If it wasn't black people on that court, we would not be watching. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't black people now in corporate America, we wouldn't be watching. If it wasn't black people all over this world, what would it be? If you took black people out of America, you would have no salt. It would be no flavor. It would be half the genres, half the things you see wouldn't be here. If you look at hip hop, it's ascended. Look at hip hop was something that was frowned upon in America. They did not even want, remember NWA?
No question.
Facts.
Remember how they looked at that? Mm-hmm. They wanted to, it went up to political discussions going on about them. Mm-hmm. And now it's the number one genre. And Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion was twerking on the Grammys. Let that sink in. That's how much we've infiltrated with our culture and how talented and gifted that we are. So I definitely, when you're talking about that, people need, and I know people, have a different way of thinking. They may think differently than you in the way you say it, but I do promise, I think it does come from a good place, and that we do need to take responsibility for our actions. But we also got to recognize the other part that comes along with that too as well.
I think you can't disagree with taking responsibility for your actions.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to be
Absolutely
able to do that, no matter what the situation.
But you expound upon the reason why this existed in the first place.
Yeah, but I would say this: without black folk, there would not be no country.
Facts.
It wasn't like we added to something.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah, the discussion was like, without us, we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't have this. No, without us, there wouldn't be no this. There would
At
not
all.
be any culture. There would not be no country. Period.
Absolutely. I'm glad I'm corrected on that one.
Period. So
Let's take a quick break.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back. So, I know we talked about a lot, but man, I want to just kind of, we got a special guest here, Joe.
Facts.
And I want this guy to kind of just, go through his story. It's phenomenal. And I want to bring him on here. He's been a mentor of mine, like I stated earlier, and somebody that I've looked to for advice and various other things in my life. But the things that he's overcome, it's been astronomical to become the man that he is today. So Keegan, but no further ado, tell me a little bit about your childhood, man, and how you grew up and just kind of expound on that.
So again, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. So growing up, was in New Jersey, Newark. Difficult upbringing, impoverished, lived in the projects.
Wow.
And single mother household. My father was in jail, and pretty much my entire life.
Did you know was he ever at the home or?
No,
wow.
No, never really. Outside just knowing his name and knowing where he was from, there was no real relationship because he was in jail. And also, from what I understand, my mother and him didn't have a great relationship either. So
gotcha.
He was never a part of the life, if you will. Life was difficult, but also life was great because you didn't know any better, right? When you're in the hood, your friend is the same way you are, so you don't know. And when you don't leave the hood, you don't know how great it is until you see it on TV, right? So when you're poor, you don't travel, and so going to the grocery store was a great trip.
Wow.
Getting food from McDonald's or Roy Rogers was like, we're going out to eat.
Yeah.
Sizzler, what?
Which is not necessarily a bad thing all the time.
No,
when you're a
not.
kid in that situation.
Yeah, no question. And so you don't understand how bad it is, right, compared to the rest of the society or world. But yeah, growing up.
When did you know that you was poor? At what moment you knew that the world wasn't like you thought it was?
When I moved down south. Because I didn't understand that not owning a home was a problem. And because everybody top rents, you can't afford to buy anything unless you just got real big dollars. So that's when I really understood that. Wow, you're poor, but you don't know in comparison how bad you are off to other individuals, right? So nobody likes living in the projects. The elevator don't work. It's crime everywhere. You walk out your door. I mean, I'm walking to school in 4th and 5th grade. You walking by drug dealers and you walking past crack vials and drug addicts laying on the staircase. So it just became life.
Did you ever get into that life? If you didn't, how did you avoid it?
You get into it, just not at your own level.
Gotcha.
Right? So cars, things of that nature. But because part of it's
you
also
was a jack boy. I'm snitching on
something.
Glad, bro.
They still New Jersey Drive. They still looking for him.
It's not Vlad TV. We ain't gonna have you tell yourself.
I'm just
but there are some things that are natural to the market, right? It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But something's just about fun as well. It's part of your lifestyle. It's never even about money sometimes. It's part of you having fun, if you will. So that was growing up. Got kicked out of school a lot, expelled, things of that nature. Stayed back.
Dummy little boy.
Yeah, I was a problem. I was a problem.
Poor and dumb. That's not a good combination, is it?
No question.
What?
No question.
I stayed back too, so I can't talk about it.
I'll tell you why I stayed back. I stayed back in 7th grade.
Oh, you were really dumb if you stayed back in 7th grade.
Let me tell you why. Truancy.
You didn't go to school. Oh, okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
I went like the first 2 weeks and I just never went back. And so that can't happen. So cops come knocking on your door. Because up there that's a crime.
What the age? Is it 17? It was 17 in South Carolina, right? Truancy.
Oh, I can't tell you.
Well, how old was it in New York?
Well, in Jersey, it was up to high school. Like
Gotcha.
It was all school. And so Yeah, you cut school. We have school buses riding around looking for you, stuff like that. So yeah, 7th grade and 9th grade, I stayed back because I didn't go to school. And so my mother made a decision to get us out the projects, and this became a little bit more clear to me as I got older. When she passed, especially when I was 15.
Wow, tell me about that a little bit too.
Yeah, so her death was pretty jarring to me because I was outside running around doing my thing. Came back home, just wanted to get something to eat and then run back outside. 15, and she's laying in the bed. Like, Ma, you cook something? She didn't say nothing. So I said, okay, I'm just gonna go in and see what's up. So it was like 15 minutes later. I'm like, she ain't say nothing. She must be knocked out. So I fixed me a sandwich. I go into her room. I sit down, put the TV on. I'm like trying to wake her up in my own little way, without shaking her. So I'm just watching TV, eating a sandwich. She's dead. Just laying there.
Goodness.
And so I was like, I just started looking at it. I was like, Now, my mother was notorious for two things. She's a great artist, can draw just freehand. She also read encyclopedias. That's what she read. And there was like 2 encyclopedia books just laid out on the bed. That's not like her. She always put them back in their proper spots before she went to bed or something like that. And it was also like afternoon, which was kind of strange too, because my mother at that time, she was working like 3 jobs.
Wow.
Just to kind of keep us out of the projects. So I just said, let me just check. And that's about maybe 45 minutes into the time I was at the crib, and shook her leg because she's on the covers. Didn't respond. And then you look at somebody, and it hits you. You're like, she don't look right. Mm-hmm. Touched her hand. That's when I knew, because she was cold, stone cold. Wow. So I sat there for about, I'm thinking back because it never leaves me, but I just can't get the exact amount of minutes. I sat there for about 20 minutes, just in shock. Didn't know what I was seeing, This was the only person in my life that I knew, push come to shove, she'd kill for me.
Wow.
Right? And so when you have that kind of person in your life who no one can match the love she has for you, it was shocking. So I got myself together. I went down the street and got my homeboy's father. I said, look, I think my mom's dead. Can you come take a look at her? So he came, and first thing he did was, when he came in the door, I guess he knew because he stopped, because he knew my mother. My friend's name was Jose. His father's name was Juan, and he knew my mom. So he just touched her. He said, "Hey, do me a favor, Keegan." I said, "Yeah." He was like, "Can you go in the kitchen for a second?" So I'm like, "Yeah," But he didn't want me. He called the ambulance. Said, "Yeah, we got a body here," So that was how it went. That's how it happened. Come to find out, what I've been told is she had a heart attack in her sleep, which is a good thing. There was no suffering, but she always battled a heart murmur. But I bring this up because it's always paramount to me, because I have a problem with this. You can work yourself to death.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
She worked at a manufacturing plant where they made ball bearings. That was a day job.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. She worked at a hotel as well. And she also worked part-time at another like fast food spot in downtown Newark. And so, but here's where it becomes an economic story. She made too much money to get government assistance, but did not make enough to live above the poverty line. So you got to work that hard to keep enough income and just to live up the street from the projects, because she didn't want to live in the projects no more. So work-life balance is very important.
Yeah,
I don't do that well, personally speaking, and I always think about my mom's in that regard. So, but yeah, I think she worked herself to death.
How did you handle that? Who did you go live with after, when you was only 15? So your dad was in jail. So what happened to you after that?
I stayed back in 9th grade. I think I was in my second 9th grade year, trying to get book smart, right? And but my cousins who lived in Irvington and other parts of the city, they came, helped me out with the initial first 2 days. They called my family down south, and my Uncle Benji came and got me. After a week, we had to take care of the services and the funeral and stuff like that. So I moved down south, culture shock, you know. But where I grew up at, nothing but blacks, Puerto Ricans. I didn't grow up around a lot of white people, you know. Come down south, and it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Aiken County, South Carolina.
Ooh, I'm from Greenwood.
I came to a small town called Wagner, one stoplight. Yeah. And trust me when I say racism.
Scary.
Yeah. It's up north, it's more of a class thing. Racism exists, but class is even more prevalent because of money, right? You can buy your way out of bad situations. Down south, I don't care where you live. If your neighbor don't like you because of your skin color, you're going to see it, plain and simple. That was a culture shock for me. No street lights, no public transportation. I was shook.
And we're immune to it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't, it's normal to us.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I was cool. But I was cooning for a long time. I didn't realize how much cooning I was doing growing up. I was like, damn.
It's normal.
And when I started to learn about our history, that's when I started to realize, oh my God, I've accepted this as a part of my life.
Yeah.
Like, man, that's why I go so hard now, because I feel like, you know, our people, the condition that you say we're in, I feel like, you know, it's a responsibility for me now to make sure that our people is seen in a different light and seen differently. That's the contribution I can give to society. But being self-aware got me out of there. Like you said, we were just immune to it.
We didn't think. I remember profoundly because I started off at Morehouse College, and I remember bringing two of my closest friends. One was from Oregon, and another was from Connecticut, and they brought them down to Easter break down to Greenwood, and the looks on their faces, they were scared to death. Seeing Confederate flags in small towns, they're like, "Where are you taking us, bro?" And like me and Steve were talking about, it's normal to us.
Yeah.
So it's cool getting that perspective.
Yeah, let me give you a contrast, which was very. I laugh it off now, but it was a little strange. When my uncle Benji came and got me, and I love that man, him and his wife, and my auntie Evelma Davenport. I love those individuals. Let me into their home and their life. When he came and got me, it was last week of October, so October 31st. When you go trick or treating, you run around, you throw eggs, throw batteries at people, at cars and stuff like that. There's also a lot of gunfire on Halloween night.
Yeah.
So that night, it was the night before our wake from my mother. It was nothing but noise outside because we was staying with my cousin Blanche over at her apartment, and she lived in Weekway, and that's also a project area. Nothing but gunshots outside here, sirens. My Uncle Benji comes from a small town, so he ain't used to that kind of noise. And the sun goes down, he hears like, you know, wolves howling and crickets and stuff like that. He couldn't sleep.
Wow.
He looked out the window the entire night. He was shook.
Wow.
Right. Wow. And I'm like, this is life, man. You better go to bed. We got a big day tomorrow. You know. Fast forward, when I come down south, that quiet. There ain't no, when the sun goes down, there's no lights nowhere. There ain't got no sidewalks. Man, I was shook for literally like a good 2 months.
What did that do? What did it do to you as a teen? What kind of emotion did you feel? Were you afraid of the world? Like knowing the closest person to you just passed away, and you move with your uncle, you're there, you're trying to figure out your life. Tell me how you feel, and tell me what your next steps that you took in your life going forward.
I made a mistake. I didn't know any better. So I got angry. And I don't mean like you get mad at something that happens to you. I was angry for a long time.
Gotcha.
Probably through college. I ain't talking about chipping them. I'm talking about angry. Like I'm talking about, say the wrong thing, I'm going to kill you. I was angry.
Did you consider that a part of your grieving process, or you didn't even know?
No, I didn't understand grieving at the time.
So in no tears, just anger.
I was just anger.
Gotcha.
Yeah, when we was at the wake, I wasn't crying. At the graveside, I wasn't crying. I didn't know how to get really emotional because I was just so angry. Like I got to remind people, I'm the only child. So my mother was the beginning and end of my family, right? Because my grandma and my grandfather were also part of my life, but they died years before her, right? But after they passed away, my mother was it for me. Had friends, we got cousins and stuff like that around the city who I love dearly, and we still chop it up. Yeah. But my mother was it for me because I knew what she was to and for me.
Wow,
you know what I mean? And so that was deep relationship for me. And so when she was called home, I got angry. Once I got out of that quiet spell, out of that shock of where the hell am I living at? Like I moved out of a place that the only thing I've known is Newark, New Jersey. Come down here to Wagner, South Carolina. It was strange for me. Mm-hmm. But once I got out of that, and I'll tell you when it happened. But once I got out of that thing about I'm tired of this, I was angry. That was a mistake. I fed the anger.
Gotcha.
So I did a lot of things I probably shouldn't have did, you know. And I'm back up for a second. Because I was truant, I was categorized as being incorrigible, could not be taught.
Gotcha.
Got some legal trouble as well. I had to do some community service and stuff like that. But I wasn't really I didn't think my life would be nothing. You know, everybody told me you ain't gonna be nothing. And I even believed it, you know. So I was like, why try? Just, you know, do what you want to do and be done with it.
Wow.
And then when I came down south, Wagner Sally High School, the guidance counselor, Mr. Gunter. So I'm getting ready to, you know, my uncle took me out to the school. Hey, I need for you to read this for me. We were like, why? We didn't know what kind of classes to put you in. Because my background was such that, this kid's not a bright kid. My mother always told me I was the smartest person she ever knew. I never know what that meant, right?
Wow.
I thought just mommy just pointing. Right? So I read this thing, you know, like it wasn't nothing, and he looked at me like he was shocked. That's when I knew, so white man, you think I'm smart. I believe it too. And so I started to use my anger with my brains at that particular point in time. That's when the light bulb kind of came on. I started actually maneuvering my life.
Yeah.
Through high school, then through college, grad school, to create what I have as far as a life right now. But it was through a lot of anger. I was jealous of my friends who had parents. All my friends had both their parents in the house, so I was pissed at that. Never said it, but I was just mad at it. I was jealous of it. I fed that, you know. And it took me a while to get over that. And I'm still uncovering, you know, elements of that anger in myself today.
Is your father still alive?
No, he died. He died in jail.
Did you how did you find out?
My aunt told me from up top. She told me.
Did you ever get a chance to go back and talk to and meet him?
Nope.
How do you feel about growing up without a father?
Honestly, now that I understand what society, what this life requires from parents to really bring kids up, I feel two things. I feel saddened, but I also feel like the muscles I had to develop to get where I'm at right now without one, I was better for it. But God had his hand on me, right? Never lost my covering, never lost my favor from God. I know that now. You can see it back then because I got through something. I was like, how did I get through that? But now I understand how God guided me through that. So I would say I was saddened because I didn't have one. Made me want to be a father for my kids a little bit differently, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't, it built muscles.
And you still had that male figure in your life and your uncle, though.
Yes and no, because when you're operating from a place of anger, you can't see things correctly. Mm. I couldn't see how to fully utilize him or my Aunt Vilma.
Gotcha.
I couldn't fully see how to utilize I had siblings now. He had 7 kids, you know, 4 girls, 3 boys. I didn't understand how to utilize. I never knew how to have siblings. I was the only child. So I was always, I purposefully isolated myself, right? I didn't understand how to do that. I didn't understand how to be in a big family.
Because you didn't have brothers or sisters.
No, I didn't know nothing about big family. I had friends in the street that I rocked with when I was living up top. That was it, you know? So being a part of a big family, that was new to me. I didn't understand. Didn't know how to really leverage it the right way. So I could never utilize him as a father figure the way I probably should have or could have.
But on the other hand of that, he's stuck in there with you.
Yes.
You know, even though you didn't know how to utilize it on his point of view, he's still stuck in there with you. Let me ask you this. Going forward, you get your degree, you get your master's degree, and you move on. What industry did you decide to go into and why? And where has it taken you today?
So in college, I got put on to insurance in personal lines insurance, auto and home, commercial insurance, life insurance, etc. Started working for an insurance agency in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and as a college student. And so got into it then and stayed with it because I figured out how lucrative it could be. So I was an agent when I graduated from college. Went on to be a company size, a commercial underwriter with the Hartford. That's when I moved to Charlotte. That's my career took off at that particular point.
He worked for Nationwide.
Yeah, after I left the Hartford, worked for Nationwide for about 12 years. Now I'm on my own insurance agency.
Wow.
Yeah, and we do personal lines, commercial insurance, life, and financial planning, and learned all that from that first time I set foot in the agency's offices in Orangeburg.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's what's up, man.
And it's been able to really transform your life. What was the point in your life to where it turned? You know, I know you got all the degrees, but what is the light where you feel like, okay, I can do this in my life? Like, was it inside of your career as an insurance agent? What did you really feel like you felt proud to be who you were, and you started finding some identity as a black man?
I think going to a HBCU, Claflin University.
You pledged too, didn't you?
Yep, Sigma.
Oh, we got a Sigma and a
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and a Kappa in the room.
We can't all
hold on.
We can't all get it right. We can't all get it right. I'm not gonna hold it against that, brother.
and you would know, but I would say Greek letters, all love. You know, the Greek population, Panhell. You know, we support everybody.
Gotcha.
Who's in that particular world. I think understanding black excellence for me started there because I had a guy who poured into me, Dr. Marion Robinson. He's a Kappa.
That's what's up.
He's a Mason as well. He taught me how to be better than the standard that was given to me by somebody else in corporate America.
That's good. That's good.
He taught me how to articulate yourself, how to be literate in your speech and your grammar and your writing, how to navigate the landscape of corporate America, how to understand what to say, when not to say it, and how to say it. So he got me away from the books and taught me how to run my race.
Be distinguished.
Yes. Yeah.
And you polished and distinguished. You can hear it in your speech and your patterns and the way you move. And that's the type of black man I want to show, because Keegan exists around the world, but the problem is we only show the worst of us. We only show the worst of what's going on, and that's the point of this to show that, hey, you can aspire to be that.
Yeah.
Like he came from nothing. I don't know if people heard what this man just said. He lost his mother at 15. His dad was in jail that he never met. That is, listen, the probability. I like math. The probability of him succeeding is less than 2%. I'm serious. Or not even. Let's take the succeeding out. Of even surviving without being in jail, or doing an actual stint, bro.
That's a good.
Think about it. You took his life. His 2 lifelines was taken away. Did that make you? And I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna ask you some different questions about your business, but I want to ask you a question, a spiritual question. Were you angry at God?
Yes, without question.
That's a good question, bro.
We need to start acknowledging that is a real thing. In my own experience, I feel the same. Tell me your experience.
Let's be clear. Job was too. He questioned. And the problem is because you don't understand God's plan, you only understand yours. So when things don't go the way you think it should go, you start asking yourself why. And if it's not your fault, you got to find somebody to blame. And there's nobody else I can blame about my mother's death but God. She wasn't murdered, you know. There was no cancer or nothing like that. And so, I was angry at God for a long period of time. Found Christ during 2003, joined the church in 2003. And I am a man of faith, and I walk with God. I understand what it means to walk in my faith now. But I can tell you, I was upset, I was mad, and it was tough because I had people trying to force faith on me. That's why I would never accept it.
How did you work through your anger? Like, what are some of the steps you took? Because there's a lot of angry. Like, this is a central story in Black America. Father in jail, mother dies, or mother struggles. Like, this becoming a classic American story. How did you work through your anger? Because obviously, if you didn't work through your anger, you wouldn't be probably sitting here today.
That's a great question, and I will tell you again. I go back to homogeneous thinking. When people are like you don't think it's a problem. Most of my friends came from broken households.
Gotcha.
Dad's in jail or dad's either in jail, dad is either dead or dad's not around, period. When I moved down south, it's when I started to realize, like, my cousins had both their parents in the household. All my friends had both. And I'm like, I hate y'all. You know, for real, I hate y'all. It make me sick. Then you start to understand that it's not their fault, you know, that they have both parents in the house. And so you start meeting more people as you get older and you're going to college. I never worked through my anger. I just used it, right,
that's good.
To move my needle. Now, sometimes you don't make good decisions in that, but it does get you where you want to go sometimes, right? Yeah. And that's what happened for me.
Did you ever play the victim?
No.
How did you avoid it? Because it's easy. It's easy to do.
Most definitely.
When something like that happened. Can you quote that thing you told me? We talked about it at the bar.
Oh, yeah. I learned early on that when you lean into victimhood, you will lay down with depression. And victimhood is a problem because people, even in today's world, they want to be comforted. They want to be built up. You did something to me that's wrong, you know. People are easily offended. They lean into victimhood. That's why the society is so depressed, you know, and I think that's a problem that we have in society. I didn't do that because I never even looked at myself as a victim. I'm telling you, anger is a real thing. It will never make you think about, I'm a victim. It just makes you look at, if you're in my way, I'm going to run you the fuck over.
Facts.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of walked life. When you do that, you can't think about victimhood. So I just ran forward. I figured out how I'm going to make money, how I'm going to do this, I'm going to take care of my kid, who I had a kid when I was, you know, a freshman in college.
How was that?
That was life-changing.
How old were you when you had your first kid?
So I was 20. At the time, my girlfriend was 19.
Wow.
And that was the moment that I said I can't do the thing I was doing before now. That changed everything.
Wow.
That changed everything.
Accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the antithesis of victim consciousness is accountability.
Yeah.
And we've stripped away accountability. Nobody wants to be accountable anymore.
No question.
We want to be victims, or we want to blame someone for the position that we're in instead of just being accountable. You took accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say I think that was the byproduct, but that wasn't my thinking.
Gotcha.
I got to succeed at no cost, because I knew for a fact, no matter how welcoming my family was in South Carolina, I always felt like I was an outsider.
Gotcha.
So if things went south, I'm going to be homeless, right?
Gotcha.
That was not an option for me. So if it was selling weed, I was going to sell weed, which I did in college.
You can do that legally now.
Yeah, not when I was in college.
Yeah, no. You was going to jail. That crime bill was that there.
Yeah. So
that Joe Biden crime bill.
You was going to say that. That's what I'm saying. You was waiting to go in on. Listen, that's Moneybag Joe. Stop it.
But whatever I had to do to kind of make it happen, I did that because I was not going to be stopped from what I wanted to accomplish. Right. And then when my daughter came, I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this, right? And so that's when things changed for me in terms of trying to figure out, how do I navigate my life in a different way, you know? So.
And so tell me just real quick. So you worked at Nationwide for a while. You transitioned to your own business. Tell me about your own business real quick before we wrap it up.
Sure. So one business is I own an insurance agency. So we do personalized insurance, auto and home insurance. We do commercial insurance, but my specialty is in commercial insurance. So we sell small business owners, workers' compensation, property, GL, professional liability, stuff like that. And then we also do life insurance, long-term care, disability insurance, and retirement planning as well. And I think that's what we can help our people with, is looking at things from a risk management perspective. How do you be a better steward of your dollar so that you can get the best bang for it and build wealth? And wealth is twofold. Wealth is capital. Wealth is information. You can give your kids more info, you can give them money.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Teach them how to make money. You ain't got to give them $1. It's plain and simple.
They'll love the thrill of it.
No question.
It's a thrill making money.
No
It's a thrill going forward.
It becomes organic for them.
Absolutely. And then man, listen. I want to say this, bro. It's been a beautiful episode.
Yes.
It's been a beautiful episode. I mean, I want to see Keegan again on the podcast. What about you?
I think this needs to happen going forward all the time, man.
What do you think, Keegan?
Hey, I'm all in, bro.
Hey, man.
I'm all in.
Welcome to the Steve Joe podcast, man.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Round
I
of applause.
appreciate
Round of
that.
applause.
Hey,
I
we gotta
appreciate that.
Welcome this guy, man. Hey, listen,
Yes, sir.
and I want to say this, and I talked to Joe about it, man. I said, listen, man, adding this guy to our podcast, he brings so much balance and stability, and you heard him speak. And there's nothing like listening to somebody who does their homework, somebody who's strategic, somebody who's thoughtful, somebody who has audacity, somebody who has a resume and an experience to go behind the things he's saying. He's never going to say anything that he doesn't mean. And I appreciate it, and I want to bring that because he's one of my mentors, and you bring the people around you. And one thing I say, man, I'm LeBron. I've been blessed to have people around me. My relationships is my currency. Right. And I keep telling people, the people you keep around you will be the people, the reason you succeed or the reason you fail at what you want to do.
Your net worth is your network. Remember that.
Absolutely. The Steve, go ahead. What you got?
Hold up. Final 4 picks before we close out.
I got Chicago, Loyola Chicago. I got Baylor. Give me, of course, I got Gonzaga.
Facts.
And I'm not sure about it. I can't say it right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know yet. And I'm toiling.
We got the same ones. I got Gonzaga, Baylor in the championship, but I got Gonzaga, Baylor, Loyola, Chicago, and I got Florida State, baby.
Stop
Not
it.
only your football
Hey, listen, y'all
powerhouse.
subscribe to the Steve Joe podcast. He's saying anything. They almost lost yesterday. Stop it, Joe. Subscribe to the Steve Joe podcast. You can see it right here, the Steve Joe podcast. Follow us on Instagram at the Steve Joe podcast. And thank you guys. And welcome, Keegan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother, for having me. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
My guy.